Thanks, everyone. Thank you. I am Melanie Westergaard. I'm class of 87 in geophysical engineering, and I am president of the Mines Alumni Board. I am delighted that you are here today, and I am your host, along with my colleagues Ruth Jones and John Griffin, who keep everything, the wheels on the bus rolling at all times, at all speeds, which is pretty impressive to watch. I would like to personally welcome you to the lunch brunch today, and also just glad you're here. So this is the monthly get together that takes a look at people and programs that makes Mines amazing, which it is. If this is your first lunch bunch, thank you for logging in. It's always fun to see new and familiar faces at the same time every month. And of course, always appreciate continued interest and support of this program as regular attendees, as we've seen a number before. So great to see you as well. So today we are shining a spotlight on the Mines Economics and Business Department, which some of you maybe remember was featured in the Lunch Bunch. I think it was in March of 2021. And we're just pleased to have you back. And we have the department head, Scott Hauser, with us today to share some of the developments and enhancements around the department and increasing business skills for all mine students. So we have a growing bachelor's of business engineering and management science degree, which is pretty cool to hear about. And the new online professional master's in engineering and technology management. So Dr. Hauser will also touch on some of the faculty and student research that's underway in mineral and energy and economics. So lots of great news. I'm excited for the updates myself to hear. And before we start, a couple things. If you do have a question during the program, feel free to use the chat feature. If you don't know how to do that, Ruth can explain that. But they'll be keeping an eye on it. So if we run out of time and you don't get to your question, they'll get back to you after the program, or one of us will. And all of the programs, as you know, are recorded, so you can access them after the fact if you want to at weare.mines.edu. If you've missed one in the past, there's a whole bunch of them out there that have been, I think, going back to 2020. So when we started doing the virtual format after COVID or during COVID. So there's quite a library of these, which are pretty cool to go back and check into. So as always, we're open to future ideas for speakers, for topics, and just whatever you want to know about. I think we can manage that. So keep in contact if anyone has anyone, me or any Ruth or anyone in the alumni office, just send us a note and share your suggestions, and we'll make it happen. So let's get started. I'd like to welcome again Scott to the Lunch Bunch, and I'll turn it over to you, Scott.
Great, thank you, Melanie. And thanks to Ruth for putting this together. It's a pleasure to be back after a 3-year hiatus. I do have a couple of slides to share, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that, mostly to keep me on track. Ruth and I have done a few of these before, and I have a tendency to ramble. So it was March of 2021 when I was last at a lunch bunch, and we were just recovering from the pandemic and trying to find new ways to connect. And I think one of the silver linings is events like this, where we can see people from all over. So it's nice to see some of our alumni. Joe and Chuck, we were chatting a little earlier. I saw Tasha Comstock come in. Tasha is able to join us from Michigan, and we've been able to keep connections with her and connect her with our current students because we have this opportunity. So it's nice to join you from beautiful San Diego, where I'm seeing my daughter who graduated a year ago. So it's just nice to be able to join you. I'm also glad to join you after 3 years because there's a lot to update you on. And we've been kind of getting deep into the celebration of Mines at 150 and the things that are going on around the sesquicentennial, and reflecting on some of the advances we've made based on the great strategic planning that went along with Mines at 150. So EB was central to some of the priorities in the Mines at 150 strategic plan, especially around making sure that all mines graduates have some business acumen, diversifying our delivery of degree programs and certificates, and then kind of creating STEM focused leaders. So I'm really happy to have this chance to update you. There, there's I think, Ruth asked if I wanted to have questions in the middle. If you have a question, please drop that in the chat, and I'll rely on Ruth to show those. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. I'm an economist, and so I usually start off with some kind of a graph when I do a talk. But I'm not sure how useful a graph is here. We've seen growing enrollments in EB, but if you've been around economics and business, you've been up on the third floor of Engineering Hall. You've seen the dozens and dozens of pictures that we take on the steps of Engineering Hall every year in our beginning of semester barbecue on the first Friday of every semester. So in 2014, the picture's up there. Lots of you will see some familiar faces there, but we had a total of 130 students in 2014. 10 years later, we now have 240 students. So we've almost doubled in size in the combination of our graduate and undergraduate programs. And so we still take this picture. We're going to have to find different ways to organize ourselves next time. But this growth in the number of students and the growth in the number of people in our picture is emblematic of some of the changes that we've seen. And one area of growth has been in our undergraduate program. So Melanie mentioned our new Business Engineering and Management Science bachelor's degree. So we started this degree program as part of the Minds at 150 focus on business at Minds. And the desire was to have a business-focused undergraduate degree. And we already had the undergraduate degree in economics, and had that for about 25 years. But the focus here was on a unique kind of undergraduate degree with this business focus. So we looked around at what our distinctives were in business education and economics and business, but then we also looked across campus and saw these strengths in data science and analytics, and our strengths in technology management and operations research. And so this degree program, which kind of debuted in the fall of 2021, has a core in business, kind of the business courses you would expect to see in any undergraduate business degree: accounting and finance and marketing and management. We added project management and strategy to that as kind of things that we have a focus on. And then the degree also has another core in data science and analytics. And so courses for math and computer science in data sciences, and then a sequence of courses in business analytics. Students also then choose a couple of tracks that they can focus a little more. Some focus on financial economics, others on technology management. We have a track that we've worked out in artificial intelligence and machine learning and big data from computer science. And I think it is a unique degree. There is no other degree that we've seen that looks like this, because it's really taking a Minds approach to business. And this idea of business engineering is a term of art more in Europe, less so in the United States, but it really is focused on taking these sort of engineering ways of thinking, data-driven, problem-solving approach to business. So we graduated our first 2 students in the fall, and one of those students wasn't able to be there because he was at the football championship game. Logan was one of the co-captains of the football team, but then we graduated another 8 students this spring. And so 3 of those students pictured here. Rachel's going to work in business analytics in telecom. Corey is doing some project management in manufacturing, and Bryn is doing some analytics work for a construction firm. So we've seen this big growth in our business-focused degree program, but over the last, I don't know, decade or so, we've seen declines in enrollments in our undergraduate economics degree. And so there's been a decision by the administration to suspend the economics BS. Sorry to break that news to Tasha, who's one of our great alumni from the econ program. I joined Mines in 2007, mostly to run the undergraduate program in economics. So this is kind of a sad transition for me. But I think what we've seen is the changes in the demands of students, and we want to be responsive to that. So we're excited to see the growth in the BEMS degree, and saddened about the economics degree. So we have 9 majors who will work through the program in the next couple of years, and then finish their degrees. We're also doing additional work, as you know, the degree programs are kind of a very focused way to think about increasing business skills for students at Mines, but our role has always been to make sure that all Mines students have access to economics and business training. So we, as part of the revision of the core curriculum, we added engineering economics, or EBGN 321. Many of you know it as the Sturmol class, from the long time of Frank and John Sturmol teaching that class. Will now be part of the core curriculum, and Principles of Economics, the 1-semester economics course, will no longer be in the core. And we're very excited about the addition of engineering econ to the core, because we often hear from all Mines alumni, and I know that President Johnson often talked about this, that alumni would often come back and say that this course was the most useful course they had taken. Of course, the course focuses on investment decision making, time value of money, discounted cash flow, all those kinds of tools that are used to evaluate projects. So that's been a big transition, and we've been increasing staff with expertise in engineering econ to roll that out as part of the core curriculum. We've also leveraged the undergraduate business degree to create a suite of business classes that are open to all Mines students. Again, giving more Mines students the opportunity to do some academic work in business. So we have courses with no prerequisites that any Mines students can take in accounting and management and entrepreneurship, business communications, marketing, and project management. So we're very excited about the increase in business classes. And I've talked to a lot of alumni who have seen the value of these business classes, but didn't find a place in their curriculum where they could have taken a course. And so one of these alumni was this graduate from the late 70s in petroleum engineering, named Andy Swiger. So Andy graduated petroleum engineering, went to work as a field engineer for Mobil, and retired a couple of years ago as the executive vice president of ExxonMobil. He was essentially the chief financial officer of ExxonMobil. And Andy thought that Andy, as an undergraduate, had taken some courses from the mineral economics department. So he had taken a course in accounting, he'd taken the engineering economics, and had taken a finance course. And he noticed through his career how that just a little bit of business education had distinguished him in his career path from other really competent engineers and graduates of the School of Mines. So Andy and Sherry have made a generous donation to endow this professor of business excellence. And really the focus here is to make sure that all Mines students have this business acumen that they're going to need in their careers. So Dr. Becky LaFrancois, a member of our faculty, is the inaugural Swiger Professor, and she is working with Andy and other alumni and faculty and staff at Mines to find ways to expand opportunities for business training and business education outside of the classroom. We've already had this great suite of classes, But the focus here is to work with folks in entrepreneurship and innovation and the VIP professional development program, capstone design, all these kinds of ways that we can interject some kind of opportunities for developing business acumen for all of our students. And a critical part of this that Andy and Becky both agreed was a key for early work was trying to define what does Minds mean by business acumen. This is not an MBA degree. This is not kind of detailed knowledge about all aspects of a business, but what do Minds students need to know? How do we define business acumen for a Minds graduate? And if you have any ideas about that, I would love to hear them. We've also been working a lot beyond the classroom in other ways. So I was glad to see Todd McLean on the call. We've worked a lot with Todd at the Minds Venture Fund to get student teams involved in doing some of the due diligence for proposals to the Minds Venture Fund. So the Beck Venture Center is unique in university venture centers because it's really an educational venture center, and kind of seeing how Todd and his work with the venture fund is making that also an educational effort. So student teams will be looking at business plans, looking at market analysis, cash flow, all those kinds of things to help Todd with his work at the Venture Center. And we don't know of any other venture fund associated with the university where student teams are doing the initial due diligence. So thanks to Tom and to Todd and his group for embracing us in that effort. We also are expanding our work in personal finance education. This is another way that we contribute to the broader education of students at Minds. So our Money Matters program, personal finance, we have online modules. Our faculty go out and do presentations to student groups. And we also have these popular series of I Dig Money events. We're bringing mostly Minds alumni who are working in personal finance fields back to talk to Minds students about specific topics. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight was a new chapter of the National Organization for Business and Engineering, which is a student-led group that really focuses on that intersection between business and engineering, which is so unique at Minds. And we've received some very generous support from Chevron to help kick off that student group. In addition to our expanding role in undergraduate business education, we still have our highly regarded and unique graduate programs. So a couple of grads from our mineral economics program, we expanded the focus of that degree to mineral and energy economics a few years ago, but still has this unique focus on mineral economics. It is the only graduate degree in mineral economics in the United States, and only a handful of programs in mineral economics in the whole world. So we can say we graduate most of the PhDs in mineral economics from the Colorado School of Mines. So this very unique program, again, strong enrollments. The master's program has been growing slowly. It kind of follows commodity price cycles a lot. So there's these macroeconomic effects on our master's enrollment, but we have these great PhD students, all of whom are fully funded with research they're doing with our alumni. We still have our joint program with the Petroleum Institute in Paris, and we have some new combined graduate undergraduate programs with Colorado Mesa University and Western Colorado University. I'm a Colorado native, so I always call those Western and Mesa without their extra words. But students there can do a couple of classes as part of their undergraduate degrees and then transfer into our mineral and economics program. We're expanding the number of industry-focused electives. We have some industry professionals come back and doing a course in advanced project analysis and evaluation. This fall, we're going to pilot a class on energy trading. And again, this is kind of reinvigorating the industry connections that mineral economics program has always been known for. We are kicking off in the fall a joint executive series with mining engineering. That's going to bring 2 or 3 kind of C-suite executives onto campus to interact with students and give a talk. And our first will be in September with the former CEO of Newmont Mining. We're very excited about kind of the generous support of alumni for fellowships. Lowell Schonk has endowed a fellowship for our master's students in mineral and energy economics. John Tilton and other of our emeritus professors have established a fellowship for grad students in mineral and energy economics in honor of our longtime department manager, Kathleen Martin. So if those of you who remember Kathleen and the role that she's played in our department, that's just a huge honor and great support for our students. What we have seen is kind of increasing interest from international audiences for our mineral and energy economics degree. Half of our master's students and a little over half of our PhD students are international students. And we've seen expanding interest from students in Africa. So with the increase in mining and energy development in Africa, and we're seeing our continued kind of interest from students in Latin America as well. Our other graduate program is our business-focused engineering and technology management master's program. This is really an enhancement degree for, oh, I'm sorry, Ruth. Ruth, you got your hand up.
I do. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I can certainly wait if you would rather. But
oh, please.
Are you okay if I just ask a quick question? So on
Sure.
the previous slide, and this is just, I'm curious, since so many of these students, master's, PhD in mineral economics are international, I'm assuming that program is delivered virtually, right? If they're in Ghana or wherever they are. But the ones that you're joining forces with at Western and at Mesa, am I remembering something about Mines faculty traveling to Gunnison and Grand Junction to teach there, like we're sharing faculty, or do those schools faculty teach these courses under our direction?
Those are great questions. So our mineral energy economics program is completely residential. We don't have any online component.
Oh.
So the international students are traveling here as they always have to do that degree program. So that's an indicator of how valuable students find that program. And really, we look at our alumni, they are all over the world. Ian Lang, one of our faculty, was sent by the State Department to Indonesia to do some work with the Indonesian government on mineral development. And he had to spend an extra week traveling around Indonesia to see and visit our alumni.
Wow.
So it is a very international program, and I'm sure that Chuck and Joe would agree with that. The combined programs with Western and Mesa are focused on they have these unique undergraduate programs that are really kind of land management. So a lot of training students to work in oil and gas development. And so those students can use some of their courses that they take as undergraduates at Mesa and Western to count toward their graduate degree at Mines. So we have this, it's out of a 4+1 program for students at Western and Mesa. We don't teach any of those classes.
Oh,
those are good questions.
great, thank you.
So thanks. ETM program, a little over 20 years or so. Program has grown substantially and has really been driving the growth in our professional master's programs. So we currently have a little over 90 master's students. 2/3 of those are Minds graduates who are doing a 4+1 program. And this has been a great enhancement again for students with a STEM degree. So our prerequisite for this degree program is not a bunch of business classes that students have taken as undergraduates, it's having a STEM degree. And so we teach kind of business skills and business tools to these students who have engineering degrees, applied science degrees from places like Minds. So we have both a residential and an online program. So we kind of rolled out our full online ETM degree this year, and enrollments in the online program are growing slowly. We've been expanding the number, especially of core courses. We used to run the program as kind of a one section program, but we had 70 students in our core accounting and finance course last fall. And I took over the core management of technology and innovation course, had 60 students, which is not kind of the high touch grad program we're looking for. So we really are trying to scale the course offerings. We've had generous support from alumni, Jerome Broussard, who really was instrumental in starting the the energy engineering and technology management master's program a few years ago. And we've also had support from another alum, Joe Easer, to support our executive and residence program for that. Melanie, you have your hand up. You have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one, Scott, is I guess in a sentence, maybe, like, I'm not 100% clear on the difference between the ETM masters and the business engineering and management science BS, and maybe I just wasn't 100% listening.
They are pretty similar. I mean, we took our skills in economics and business in business education was really this engineering technology management degree program. So there's a lot of the same focus. It's very much an engineering focus applied to, or engineering way of thinking applied to business problems, very focused on business analytics and kind of practical tools that students are going to use to make data-driven decisions. So if you think about the BEMS degree as sort of the undergraduate version of our engineering technology management degree. And the nice thing, the ETM program is really a 2-semester program. So we don't have ability to scaffold a lot of learning in that degree program. But the undergraduate degree, we really can have a sequence of courses that build on each other. So in the undergraduate degree has a sequence of 4 business analytics courses that are going to build tools and have students with this capstone experience of applying these business analytics tools. The ETM degree is really taking students with a STEM degree and providing them with the basics of a business education.
That's
Does
super
that
helpful.
help?
Yeah, super. Thank you so much.
No, it is great. Thanks for your question. So the ETM is an interesting degree, and I'm always fascinated by the jobs our students get after doing the degree. About half of them seem to get an engineering degree that's sort of similar to the degree they would have had with just their undergraduate degree, but they're on this path that's different. So they may move more quickly into a management path. They're doing a lot of rotational programs at companies where they're getting exposed to lots of different engineering disciplines, and then they're kind of expected to move into leadership. The other half are kind of going into jobs more in investment banking, a lot of management consulting, and so it's an interesting degree program. It's been very successful, and our alumni are doing a great job. I think the picture of folks as our current Board of Trustees chair, Jesus Salazar, is on a panel there, one of our ETM alumni. In terms of faculty and staff, EB faculty over the last several decades has been kind of in the range of 12 to 14. We currently have 14 and a half full-time equivalents. We have a few part-time professors of practice, and starting next fall, we'll be up to 17 and a half full-time equivalents. And we're very excited about the kind of the growth in our faculty. One thing that is excited are these professors of practice. So I was the first full-time non-tenure track hire in 2007, and we didn't have a full-time professor of practice on our faculty until last fall, when one of our PhD alumni, Tom Brady, joined us. Tom, most recent industry experience, he was the chief economist at Newmont Mining, and then he ran the J.P. Morgan Commodities Center at the University of Colorado, Denver, and then joined us to bring his industry experience. We'll add another full-time professor of practice in the fall, another of our alumni, Daniel Jarrett, who will be working on business analytics. Research, we're still very active in research in economics and business. I just listed a few topics that members of our faculty are working on. Again, very much a focus on mineral economics, on energy economics. Stephen Smith's doing some great work in water, and is working with the interdisciplinary program in hydrologic science and engineering. Max Brown, another of our mineral and energy economics alumni, is joining us after 7 years at NREL, developing these kind of these economy-wide models of energy transition, energy policy, that have been in huge demand for thinking about the future of energy in the U.S. We have a lot of sponsored research. Rod Eggert is still the Associate Director of the Critical Materials Innovation Hub. It changed its name. I still have trouble saying it. We have funding from NSF and Department of Energy and DARPA and all sorts of interesting places looking at the kind of key work that we're doing in mineral and energy. One last little thing I want to show you, and you might have to close your little list of folks over on the right side. I didn't anticipate the Zoom meeting. I apologize for that. But we've always talked about kind of the research productivity in economics and business, and how we rank relative to other economics programs. And we haven't had a tool until recently. There's this organization called Academic Analytics that puts together this scholarly research index. So you just need to think about that as an index of research productivity. And that index goes along the horizontal axis. On the vertical axis is the size of a department in percentiles. So I'll let you guess where EB is, but we're right there. We're relatively small. We're about the 10th percentile in terms of size relative to PhD granting economics programs at R1 at high research institutions. But we are among the most productive in terms of our research. And this is thinking about publications and awards, federal funding, those kinds of things. And just to give you a context, the folks that we're tied with are Johns Hopkins and Columbia University. So we really do punch above our weight in terms of our research productivity. So I like to take the chance to brag about our faculty in terms of their research, our students in terms of their success, and the whole department. Finally, I just want to talk a little bit about alumni and industry connections. again, we have these faculty who are alumni. We have a lot of alumni in teaching as adjunct instructors and coming in as class speakers, participating in networking panels and career center panels, demonstrating kind of the breadth at which Mines alumni are working. We have this executive seminar series, both in ETM and in mineral and energy economics. Generous financial support. I've kind of highlighted a few of those things. Tom Brady is doing some work this summer on developing an industry advisory committee for the entire department. And so we hope to kick that off in the fall. And we have our annual on-campus alumni gathering, which we have just decided is going to be on the first Thursday of March every year. So you can put that on your calendars. And we've enjoyed getting to see a lot of our alumni coming back to campus. I know that Ruth gave me a time limit and I went over that time limit, but I'm going to blame Ruth and Melanie for asking questions and interrupting me. So happy to entertain any other questions. I appreciate the time to talk with you about what's going on in economics and business.
Thank you so much, Scott. This is great. Really helpful overview and so much growth. My goodness. I'm impressed with all the photos and the number of students and the breadth and variety of offerings. It's great. Does anyone have a question for Scott? Anybody want to make a comment or?
Lynn.
I have a question. Sorry. I'm so used to Teams, I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand here. Scott, you mentioned I don't know. You mentioned the jobs that our ETM students get after graduation. What about the mineral economics students? Where did they go?
Right. So our mineral and energy economics master's students mostly go to work in industry, in minerals and energy, as you would expect. Lots of them increasingly are going to work in consulting firms and in finance. So we really do have this kind of unique approach to mineral and energy economics in terms of our work in project evaluation and project financing. And so there is a big demand from investment banks, venture capital, and other kinds of finance firms for our students in that program. We do see some of our master's graduates going to work in government and in national labs, but that's where most of our PhD graduates don't go to academia. They also go to industry, but we have a big representation in national labs and government policy, Department of Energy, U.S. Geological Survey. That's where a lot of our PhD students are working, which is a shift where I think most of our PhD graduates in the late 80s and 90s were mostly going to work again in industry.
Sorry, and one quick follow-up question. Since we have so many international students, are you seeing those students going back to their home countries to take those government jobs or lab jobs, PhD students specifically, or are they mostly staying here? Or am I?
An interesting mix. The PhD students initially mostly stay in the United States. We have seen some of them go back to their home countries. Our master students, most of those students do go back to their home countries. For example, we had somebody who was pretty high up in the Ministry of Resources and Minerals in Ghana, just graduated, finished his degree. He's going back to work in Ghana.
Cool.
Hey, Ruth, I've got a question.
Okay.
Of the 2/3 of students that graduate from Mines and come into the department, how many of them go out into the world and then come back rather than just continue their education?
That's probably more likely with our mineral and energy economics degree. We see students go out and work for a while, come back and do the mineral and energy economics degree. The ETM degree has mostly been, at least for mine students, they mostly do that as right after their undergraduate degree. We are seeing more, I think the online version of the ETM degree seems to be attracting lots of mines graduates who wanted to do the ETM degree, but got a great job offer when they graduated and then are coming back to do that online. So we're having to think about, again, a small part of this Mines at 150 focus on diversifying the delivery of our degree programs, really trying to find that sweet spot between kind of residential programs and programs that are available online.
Well, I noticed one of your previous slides was one of the graduates had a veteran sign on. Well, when I came back in 71, I was a veteran, so I had
Right.
GI Bill of Rights, which makes going to school a little less expensive.
No, you're right. Yeah, the Marine Corps vet, Corey, was an undergraduate student. So he had come back and finished his graduate degree after his service. We do see a lot of veterans and actually quite a few active duty military students coming back for a graduate degree because the military is very interested in these very applied kinds of degrees. So we have active duty students, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, Army, who are doing graduate programs either in mineral and energy economics or ETM. Thanks, Chuck.
This is Joe Cornelson. I can comment about a few of the experiences I had. I graduated in 1984. Actually, John Sturmel and I were in the same study group.
Yeah.
So we went through that. So that was interesting knowing John. And then I went to work at Bear Mines doing minerals availability study. I saw you had a minerals availability curve on there, and I'd done lots of those. And,
Yep.
but the foreign students, we had a foreign student from Ghana when I was there. In the winter, when we had many below 0 days, he said he'd never been so cold in his life and never wished to do it again. But I heard he had gone back to Ghana to be in a high up position in their division of mines. So this is not anything new about having a lot of foreign students. So he was a very enjoyable person to know. But I and John knew each other, and then I had another friend, Jim Russell, who was in grad school together, and we ended up working for the Division of Mineral Economics. I actually said, Jim, come here, I got a job. So the alumni and Bob Davidoff actually formed the group. He was an alumni from 74,
yeah,
one of the original alumni of the Mineral Economics Department. So
Awesome.
you go quite a ways with these contacts. So that was one interesting thing about that. So you kept talking about John, but I won't tell you any stories about John when I was there. I have a few, but I'll defrain. So,
Thanks, Joe.
So
See a question from Steve.
Thank you, Ruth. Thanks for the presentation. I just wanted to share my experience, which is similar. When I was in graduate school, I took as many mineral econ courses as I could, probably more than I should have, maybe in lengthening out my actual master's work. But when I got into industry, it was just amazing how much of a head start it gave me on other engineers. And I remember my first couple of companies, when they had training programs, they looked down and said, oh, well, you don't need that because you had Sturmel's course at Mines, or you had finance at Mines, or you had business law at Mines. And, all through my career, these things kept coming back. So the whole thing about engineering economics that Mines teaches through the companies I've worked at, the Mines students definitely had a head start on students from other engineering schools, and I'm glad the program's still there. But the quick question, in terms of the undergraduate programs, failure to sustain itself, was it a bridge too far of an aspiration, or does it reflect bias in the financial industry against engineering schools?
So in terms of the economics degree, the economics degree was started in the late 90s, mostly as a retention thing. So I grew up in Pueblo. I graduated from high school in 1981. I didn't apply to mines because I wasn't sure I wanted to be an engineer or a ground scientist. And so I ended up at up the road at Colorado State and ended up discovering economics. So both kind of to attract students who were unsure about engineering and to keep students who decided they didn't want to be engineers and keep them from transferring other places, this economics degree made a lot of sense. We already had our graduate program in mineral economics. What we've seen is with the expansion in the number of undergraduate degrees outside of engineering, and also we do a lot better job at mines with retention. And so we haven't needed that. About half of our econ majors were double majors, and so we don't do double majors at mines, we do dual degrees. So the rules changed and there had to be more classes taken. You had to take as many extra credit hours to get a second degree in economics as to get a master's degree in engineering technology management. So a lot of our students opted for the 4+1 instead of the dual degree. I think it just changes. It was not a demand, it was not a lack of success of our econ graduates. So our economics alumni have been very, very successful. There's still a lot of demand from industry for students from mines who had economics degrees. I think it's just changing nature of the students at mines more than anything. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yes, as a fellow Pueblo, and yes, it definitely makes sense to me.
Okay, where'd you go to high school?
Central.
My mom went to Central, I went to East. So now Steve and I, if you're not from Pueblo, Steve and I now know everything about each other that we need to know.
That's awesome. I have one quick question before we wrap up. I know we're getting close to time. Tell me more about professors of practice. I know generally what that means. They are not necessarily academicians. They are people who've served many years in industry, who come back to share their knowledge and their experiences with students. Is that correct?
Right.
And then how are they selected? Do you reach out and try to find folks to enhance your programs? Are they alumni who come back in that role in your department, or what does that whole thing look like for econ and business?
Yeah, I think the professors of practice and the growth that we've seen over the last decade or so in professors of practice across campus is really a great thing for Mines. Mines is known for its industry connections. It's known for the practicality of the education that we give to students. And so these professors of practice are a really helpful way to keep sort of our feet on the ground in all of our programs. So for us, Tom Brady, we went out and targeted Tom with the support of the president to get him to be part of our faculty. We have others, Paul Zink, who's a professor of practice as a joint appointment, also works in mining engineering, 30 years on Wall Street, doing big deals in energy and mineral programs. The thing that somebody like Paul Zink brings is when I tell him we only have time in our curriculum for a 1-semester accounting course for our undergraduates, and instead of the traditional 2-semester sequence of financial and managerial accounting. So what Paul did is he took a 2-semester textbook for accounting, and he ripped out everything that he never used in 30 years on Wall Street. That gave us a very practical accounting class. Nobody that goes to our business program is going to become an accountant, but they're all going to need to use accounting information. So when we can rely on somebody like Paul, who has this deep knowledge and industry knowledge that makes this class much more practical. And so we've consulted with Paul and with Tom and our other professors of practice on curriculum, kind of the whole curriculum to make sure that it's practical. And then students get that connection with industry from those people, right? So it's a lot of networking, a lot of job search. I've been an academic for a long time. I've lost a lot of my ability to connect with industry, and so that's been incredibly valuable.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for shedding some light on that. Does anyone have any last comment or question before I turn it over back to Melanie for some closing comments?
Well, that was super informative. I really appreciate it, Dr. Hauser. I learned a lot, and I appreciate your time very much. And speaking of contacts, I know Tom Brady. We went to high school together, as did I go to high school.
Yeah.
Julie Sturmel, John's brother and Frank's daughter. So anyway, thank you all to the attendees for coming today. And I would also like to personally invite you to attend the Sesquicentennial Homecoming Celebrations Homecoming 2024, September 26th to the 28th. It's going to be a fun-filled weekend with a lot of really exciting and a crazy amount of fun stuff to do for everybody involved. So put that on your calendar. And if you want to find more information, it's always being updated constantly at weare.mines.edu/150. And with that, I would just like to turn it over to Ruth for the next steps and when we're going to meet again.
Yep. Thanks so much, Melanie. Before we say goodbye, I want to thank everybody, particularly the regulars who come every month and enjoy our programs. You guys are awesome. I wanted to let you know that we have decided to take a bit of a breather, a bit of a hiatus over the summer months. So we will not have a lunch bunch program for the months of June and July, but we will be back in full force beginning in August 15th to be exact. And of course, Lunch Bunch will always will remain on the third Thursday of each month from noon to 1 on Zoom. So we'll take a bit of a respite for the summer and come back with a full fall schedule, which we're now in the process of confirming. And so be sure to check back on the website, see who's joining us, and we hope that you'll join us. So thank you so much, everybody. And everybody,
Thank you.
go Hornegers!
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Bye-bye.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.